Digital requires an agile way of thinking and an agile way of sourcing. We've gone from rigid ways of working, as I've said, to an agile way of working. So from rigid, responding to rigid, detailed, documented requirements, a paper-based, arm's-length RFP process, worlds which we're probably all familiar with, to an agile way of working, adopting an Agile Manifesto approach. And the Agile Manifesto came about through software development, encourages collaboration, cross-discipline teams moving rapidly, prioritize working services over documentation, and maintaining flexibility to change at all times. And we brought that into the sourcing world. And agile sourcing has 4 key principles, which are common sense really, but not the way we've worked in the past. Individual interactions over processes and tools. It doesn't mean we don't use processes and tools, of course, we continue to use them, but we prefer face-to-face contact and we talk about what we're going to do together. Working services over comprehensive statements of work. We obviously need legal contracts, of course, but we prefer to get to a minimal viable product. We need to see something in action to decide how we're going to take it further. Collaborating with the customer over contract negotiation. You know, we're going to need law to underpin everything we do, but we're going to need to have dialogue to agree what we're going to do together. And responding to change and being agile over just blindly following a plan because it's written on paper. If I think about the and apologies, it's quite a complex diagram that I created a while back. But if I think of sourcing 1.0, the area that, you know, the way that we used to work as advisors in this space, the sort of paradigm shift, if you like, was outsourcing. Outsourcing was a different model. We're not going to do it ourselves, we're going to get an expert to do it. And whether that was for finance and accounting, HR, IT, infrastructure, apps development, whatever, you know, our job was to say, oh, is it outsourcing, offshoring, shared services? And then the job that my company did was, well, educate and provide market intelligence on what your options are. We then help you by creating a strategy and a business case. We then run a procurement process for you to select the right service provider at the right price. We put a contract in place. We then help you to transition services. And only at that point there would you start to realize any value. And then we'd go through and help you to manage the relationship and ensure you had some continuous improvement. And that whole process might take 12 months. I mean, for big, complex things, it might take longer than that. And that was the world that we lived in. But the world that we live in now is all around digital orchestration. Outsourcing is no longer the paradigm shift. All large organizations outsource in one shape or form. What we're trying to do now is to partner for operational efficiency, for agility, scalability, user experience, to help organizations do things better through partnership, through collaboration, through innovation. And you've got the 4 lenses that you need to look at: the customer, the employee, the product, the operations. You've got different technologies which you need to feed into the mix, whether that's cloud, big data, network, AI, blockchain, automation. And you work together to ideate, which I know is a horrible consulting word, but you know, you're thinking about things together in partnership. You're then testing and learning together. You can start realizing value earlier. You then explore how to change things together. Then you scale. You take feedback from customers, you take feedback from your supply base, and then you change, and then you scale, and you continually evolve. It's gone from being a linear model to a circular model. And of course, all of that's underpinned by commercial and contractual terms, by operating model, and by governance and orchestration. All of the consultancies in this space and all the service providers will have different models they go through. We call ours at ISG Future Source. Who effectively, and this is, you know, it's a real change. It might not mean much to you guys, but to me, I've been doing this for 20 years, and I know some of you guys in the audience have as well. But you know, from going to do from beginning to end of a complex outsourcing agreement, 6 to 9 months would have been sort of finger in the air stuff. We now do it in 3 5-week sprints, from beginning to end. That is just unbelievable, the change in the way that we now do complex sourcing transactions. We've taken an agile mindset to the way that we do sourcing. Contracts need to change and be flexible as well. If we just have a long-term approach to contracting, thinking we're going to do things in the same way for that 5 to 7 years or 3 to 5 years, it's just simply not going to work in an agile world. We can, of course, use for commercial parts of the contract, we can use time and materials, we can use fixed price, we can split things into small chunks to make life easier and to manage risk. But all of those come with pros and cons, and none of them are right or wrong. And you can, of course, use all of them. But there are a couple of ways in which we do this for agile and digital contracts. One is having a points-based approach, and a point is based on a level of complexity. So something that is complex would be, let's say, 10 points, and something which is easier would be 1 or 2 points. It's not based on the number of people the provider uses. It's not based on how long it takes. It's based on the level of complexity which you agree together. And then you say, well, this next sprint that we're going to deliver, this backlog of functionality we're going to deliver is about 3 points. Do we both agree with that? Yes, we do, and then we'll go off and do it at a point in time. So a points-based system we use for agile and digital programs. Or there's something called the cone of uncertainty, which I like, which is pretty common sense. But you have a different way of contracting at every stage of the relationship. At the very, very beginning, the cone is pretty big because you don't know each other, and you're getting together to work together to create something, to create, let's say, a minimal viable product. And at the very beginning, when you're courting, you're getting to know each other. That might be 100% FTE based for a short period of time, just time and materials. For example, you still might manage or measure client satisfaction. You will still have some form of KPIs together. But at that point, you run a sprint to deliver your product, and then you say, right, we're going to have a slightly different approach. We're going to become engaged. We've made our decision. We're going to work together. We then might split the way we do contracts. We'll have, let's say, 70% of it on as a FTE-based contract and 30% of it based on the functionality that we're going to develop together. And then at sprints 12 to 15, we're going to agree that we're going to formalize things and get married. And then we're going to have like 100% outcome-based contract where we work together in through partnership. So you have different phases. You will have a different approach to contracting. So agreeing at the very beginning for the entire 3-year relationship, let's say, is just a bonkers way of doing things now.